Dadi Janki, as we all know, Dadi used everything in the most worthwhile way. Everything that Dadi had, Dadi would say, let everyone use it. I remember Dadi would even say, you sleep here in Shakti Bhavan, sleep on the sofa, sleep on the carpet. Like Dadi never wanted anything for herself. It was always for everyone. Even her car, Dadi never wanted a personal car for herself, even when she was in London. And she didn't want a new one. It was an old car that was being used to take Dadi from Baba Bhavan to London. And Jayantiben was here in the retreat center today, and she was sharing that when the Madhuban brothers who came recently, 4 of them came, they saw Dadi's room, and they were so shocked that it's such a simple room. And they expected it to be big and glamorous and gaudy, but that's not Dadi's style. And then I remember Jayantiben, when Dadi Janki went back to London after 4 years of, I think, using those same saris. She had 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know how many saris she came to London with, but she was using the same saris. And when she went back to Madhuban, then Dadi Kumarka and Didi literally looked her up and down to see if she had had any influence of the West, if she had any extra buckle in her hair, or if her slippers were fancy, or she had got herself a silk sari or something like that. So no taint, no trace, no influence of the West on Dadi at all. So she really epitomizes today's Murli of using everything in a worthwhile way. Thank you, Sister Jayanti. Welcome. Welcome to everyone.
Om Shanti to everyone. And yes, it feels like it's been a long time since I connected with you all, and it's lovely to see all your beautiful faces. And this was a Murli from 31st December 92. And so Baba always acknowledges whatever time of year it is, whatever is happening on the external level. And so Baba's Murli was first and foremost about new life. The giver of new life is seeing the children who've taken a new birth. And this new birth is your elevated, pure Brahman birth. In fact, the word Brahman actually means the twice born, the one who's had a spiritual rebirth. And I know this concept of spiritual rebirth comes up in Christianity and maybe in other parts also, but certainly the spiritual awareness that my new birth since I came to Baba is definitely a new beginning, a new life for me. And then Baba saying how in the world out there, they share greetings, happiness, and a gift, but it's all short-lived, very, very temporary, maybe just for a day, no more than that. And for us, not only is it a new life filled with great joy and festivity and celebration, but it's also a time to give gifts, a time to give the gift of the reminder of the fortune of the kingdom that we can share from God. And so this golden gift is a gift that is imperishable and will last forever. And all people have to do is simply remember that. And then Baba was speaking about the omens and the stars and how for people out there, one day is good and another day is maybe good, maybe not so good, and maybe the next day, Tuesday, Thursday, perhaps so good, Friday is not so good. But that's not the case for Brahmins. Every single day is good. Yesterday was good. Today is better. And tomorrow is going to be the best of all. Why? Because our horoscope sign changes as soon as we take a new spiritual birth. And with this horoscope sign, and the sign is a beautiful one, the sign of the flying stage, the stage of ascent. And so this is with us. And so we celebrate every single day with joy. And it's true, in Madhuban, there's constant celebrations. I used to be so surprised that not only is every building that's being constructed, there's a celebration that you expect, But every single room, that is also a celebration. But also for Brahmins, every day there's something to celebrate. And so can I make sure that I celebrate each day a new beginning? And of course, in Bharat, the memorial of this, so many festivals. No other country has as many holidays, holy days as Bharat has. And so is the memorial of Sangam Yug. And so after the whole aspect of celebration, then the new year, the new beginning, and Baba reminding us that this is the year that's been designated, 1993, as the Avyakt year. And maybe for some of us, we can take that up and say 2023 will also be the Avyakt year, because it's a beautiful symbol that Baba shared, that it'll be the Avyakt year and you have to attain and emerge your state of perfection and completion. Then truly it'll be the Avyakt year. But anyway, so Baba reminded us that it's the Avyakt year, and we're doing this in honor of Brahma Baba because of our love for Brahma Baba. But what is the proof of our love for Brahma Baba? The proof of that love is that whatever it is that Baba loved, we should also love the same. And Baba's foremost love was for the Murli. And so do I love the Murli as much as Baba loved the Murli. And this is why Brahma Baba, the number one soul, has been shown in the form of Krishna as the one who plays the magic flute. And the symbol that you can always recognize an image of Krishna, there's a lovely flute in his hands. And so the memorial from last Kalpa, and of course the reality today of how Brahma Baba loved the Murli and he became the flute actually. Shiv Baba used him to play that music. So a lovely relationship of the player of the flute, the incorporeal, and the instrument, the corporeal one. And so I'll share a little bhakti story here that I remember. Somebody asked the flute, what gave you the fortune of becoming the flute that's in God's hands? And the flute replied, well, I was only a bamboo shoot. And then they cut me down, but I didn't scream, I didn't yell, I didn't complain. And then they drilled holes into me, and I still didn't complain. And so when they finally had done everything they wanted to me and they polished me, then I was put into Krishna's hands, into God's hands. And I realized my great fortune. And my fortune came about because I did not complain. I did not scream. I didn't say a word. And so Brahma Baba, his tolerance capacity, incredible. And his ability to merge things within himself, incredible. And so Brahma Baba became the flute through whom Shiv Baba was able to play his beautiful music and uplift us all. And then Baba talking about becoming number one by winning over waste thoughts and using everything in a worthwhile way. And again, Brahma Baba's example that right from the moment the soul was awoken by Shiv Baba, from that moment onwards, everything was used in a worthwhile way. Just imagine, here's a man who's worked hard. Brahma Baba didn't have inherited wealth. He had worked hard for every cent, every penny. And then there's this voice telling him, you call these young girls and you hand over all your assets to these young girls. And he could have screamed and said, why? How? They don't even have a bank account. They don't know what is the value of money. But he didn't. He just simply obeyed. And so these young sisters who had no idea of how much is 10 rupees, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, they'd never gone shopping in their lives, I'm sure. They didn't have an account. And yet he obeyed that signal and he set up that trust and instantly surrendered everything to those young women so that Shiv Baba would then be the one who was going to do whatever was needed for the whole yajna, and the yajna was established. And of course, that was the start. But then the end of the journey of that life, from morning through till the evening. Yes, early morning, Baba wasn't able to speak the Murli, but then later on, Baba said to Ishu Dadi, I want to settle all my accounts. And of course, she didn't really understand, but she knew that yesterday they'd started to settle all the outstanding letters. And one of those letters came to London also to Rajni Ben at that time. And then the next day, 18th, and whatever remained, 40, 50 letters, Baba replied to each and every one. And so that account was settled. Baba went on a tour of the new construction that was happening, the place which is now called Training Center, and it was created as a training center for Kumaris. Baba went on a tour of that, and then the tour of the kitchen. Is there enough sugar? Is there enough salt? Baba getting his head into every detail, making sure that all the children would be comfortable. And then in the evening, Baba saying, ring the bell. Baba's going to do early class tonight. Normally class would be 8:30, they would gather, and one of the dadis, Dadi Shantamani, usually would read news that had come from everywhere. Evening class was sharing of news of service and whatever else was happening in, at that time, 400 centers around Bharat. So that was still a good amount of news. And then Baba would usually come 9 o'clock. But this time Baba said, ring the bell for early dinner and Baba will meet everyone at 8. Baba's missed the Murli this morning and the children are going to be wondering what happened. Is Baba not well? And so Baba wants to reassure everyone. And so Baba came and spoke the Murli, and I won't go into the detail of that Murli, but powerful and beautiful. But the interesting thing, no sound of any coughing, because normally when Baba would cough, then you'd hear the click of the pause button, and Baba would have a sip of water from the silver glass that was placed by his side, and then would continue and clear his throat, and you could hear all of that. And this time, there's no break, no pause, smooth, smooth, smooth. So Baba had finally bid farewell to his long-term friend, his cough. Baba called the cough my friend. And so that one Murli is one in which there's no cough. And at the end, Baba actually says, Baap bachon se vidai lete hain. But even at that moment, of course, nobody realized. It's afterwards you hear it, and on hindsight you say, well, of course, Baba knew. He'd known for some time, not just then. He'd known for a while. And Baba saying that Baba is bidding farewell to all you children. And then Baba went to his room and the rest of the story and Baba flying away. But the point that Baba used his body, his mind, his thoughts, his words, his actions, right until the very last moment for an elevated cause, to use in a worthwhile way, or to use for an elevated cause and use something for the optimum. All of these can be translations of Safal, but there isn't one single word that captures all of it. But it's okay, you now understand. So Baba describing Brahma Baba's example and saying that if you love Baba, then check your thoughts, your words, your actions. Do they match up? And if they match up, then yes, you can win and be one in the first division. The first division can be many. It's not just one alone. And so Baba opening the door of opportunity for everyone. Whoever makes the effort, you can be in the first division also. And so Baba again giving Brahma Baba's example in terms of being number one. And Baba saying, Brahma Baba maintained his position no matter how much opposition came his way. And the position was one in which there was inner dignity, that state of self-recognition and self-respect. And secondly, determination and faith. And so that made him unshakable, absolutely immovable. And if you're weak, then opposition can push you down. But if you maintain your own position, then opposition comes, but it makes you even stronger, even more determined to stay that way, unshakable. And Baba said, it wasn't just Brahma Baba, but the proof of that is that today there is so much service that's happening. And people say that where there was dhamal, there was upheaval. Now all of you are doing kamal. All of you are showing wonders. And so it's also your faith and determination and your position that has brought you to this point. And further, Baba talking about being able to apply a brake to waste. Is it that you recognize that these are waste thoughts, and yet you're still not able to stop them? Does it take a day, 2 days, longer? Does it take an hour, 10 hours? How long is it taking for you to apply a full stop? And so it's too late. If it's 10 hours delay, it's too late. And so be able to put a full stop to opposition, to put a full stop to waste thoughts, just simply by having that pure, powerful, determined thought. There were 2 times at which Baba said something very, very powerful, that it's fixed in the drama, it's your destiny. And so the first was when earlier on Baba had been talking about becoming a Brahmin. And so Baba said, you are Brahmins. You were Brahmins. You're Brahmins again now. It's fixed in the drama. It's your destiny. Your destiny has made you a Brahmin, and a Brahmin will become an angel, and an angel will become a deity. And then again, later on, Baba saying, it's fixed destiny that there is going to be success. Every time you use what you have in a worthwhile way, your thoughts, your words, your actions, your relationships, your connections, everything is going to bring you success. This isn't the occult power that people out there have, which is limited and perishable and temporary, but this is using the right method, and that brings you success. And so use everything in a worthwhile way. And of course, your thoughts, your words, your actions, everything is going to be successful. Success is your destiny. Just keep that aim, and that destiny, that aim will allow you to develop those qualifications. And so just keep that thought of success and using everything in a worthwhile way, and definitely success is guaranteed. It's your destiny. And then earlier on, Baba had also mentioned, if you use your time in a worthwhile way, you will claim the kingdom the full time through the golden and silver age. My time not used, Baba didn't go into that, but you can imagine. And then if you use your breath in a worthwhile way, you'll never have a heart attack. You won't stop dead in your tracks, literally, but you'll have good health. And of course, both things make a lot of sense if you start reflecting on that. But then further, you have treasures that God has given you. You have the treasure of knowledge, and you become so sensible as you use the knowledge now in the appropriate manner, in the right way, at the right time, you're able to have that state in which you need no advisors at all, because your own sensibility, your own wisdom is sufficient to guide you. And then you have the inheritance of all the powers. How are you using those powers? Again, use all the powers in the right way, and you'll have the authority of the kingdom through religion, but also through governance. And so you'll have both authorities, the kingdom of governance, but also that of religion. Religion is might. And so Baba said, churn this further and see how it all works out. Your virtues as you fill yourself with those and take all those treasures now, even right until the final time, they'll worship your non-living images, knowing that they're the embodiment, the deities are the embodiment of all virtues. And so Baba took us through it step by step by step, how to use everything in a worthwhile way. And I'm tempted to add another Dadi Janki story. In her 80s and 90s, Dadi was traveling till 104. In January, she finished her travels, and then March, she flew away. But through her time, especially during the 80s and 90s, when she was still doing a lot of service abroad, many people used to say to her, Dadi, where do you get this energy from? What gave you this energy? And she would say, I've never wasted my time, my thoughts, my money, my energy. I have always used these in a worthwhile way, and so I'm blessed. And this is why I'm able to do the things I do now, which is a reality. We all saw Dadi, and we saw the energy with which she did everything and the abundance that she generated everywhere, because she didn't waste anything. She was the first sister in the Yagya in the days of Karachi to wear a sari that was patched. And one of the sisters went to Baba and said, Baba, she's wearing a sari that's patched. And Baba said, it's good. You can all wear a sari with 108 patches. It'll be even better. And so the other sister thought it's not royal to wear a sari with patches. Baba said, it's absolutely right. And so use everything in a worthwhile way. So the whole Murli was reminding us of what it is we need to do to follow in Baba's footsteps. With this lovely expression of, it is fixed in destiny that you will become the ones who rule the kingdom, the ones who have success, the ones who are immovable and unshakable. Nothing can shake your kingdom, but it begins today through my unshakable stage at this very moment. And then Baba spoke to Dadiji. Dadiji is returned from Udaipur, where she's been given an honorary doctorate. And Baba said, well, you've got a godly degree. You don't need this degree. But yes, it's another means of service. There was a whole new audience that you were exposed to. They gave you a platform to speak. And so there'll be more and more new ways of service. At the moment, all of you are creating platforms for others and inviting them to your platform. But the time has come when you will be invited to speak on their platforms. Today, you call the religious leaders and say, can you be our chief guest? And internally, they have the thought, well, these are the real pure souls. But externally, they don't offer you that platform yet, but they will. And the chief guests who are political leaders who come on your platform and you call them as chief guests, they actually say in their speeches, we are not worthy of this honor, but you've asked us to come, so we've come. But in fact, you are the people who should be the chief guests. And this happened many, many times. Many political people used to say this. So Baba was indicating that a time will come when the quality of service, the level of service will change. And in terms of the Avyakt here, Baba said, this is the time to become complete and perfect and become like Father Brahma. This is the real celebration of the Avyakt year. And I know that there are things being planned for the month of January in which we can do extra tapasya and honor at least the month of being Avyakt. And then further on, let's see how that works out. But Baba, very, very aware that things are changing, things are moving, and it's time for children to be revealed. The children have revealed the Father, but now the Father is revealing his children, the Shaktis. And so it's time for revelation, it's time for attaining that stage of perfection. So to be able to do all the things that Baba said and did, whatever Baba said, it happened. Baba made it happen. Whatever Baba thought, Baba put into practical action. And so are my thoughts like Baba's thoughts, so powerful that there's no margin for waste. Baba saying, put an end to the waste, full stop, and then you'll collect that stock of energy. Thoughts such as, well, maybe I'll make it, maybe I won't, maybe I am one of the victorious jewels, maybe I'm not. But the Rosary of Victory is the memorial of all of you. You've had victory in the past, and so just stop all waste, chinta, worry, and know that destiny is fixed. Have faith in that. So I love this expression, destiny is fixed. And so the guarantee, absolute guarantee. So powerful Murali, inspiration Murali, and much homework to be done.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think you have a really good recorder up here.
There's actually a whole passage on darkness that Baba spoke. Don't think about all the darkness. I got angry, I did this, I did that, and the other. But use the light and think about the positive things and send away the darkness forever. That's also an important lesson for all of us.
Yes, and about faith and intoxication. Yes, Jaya. Yes, Jaya. Yeah, so we've been having discussions here. So I'll start with this little controversial question. So Baba says that Brahmins should be the most happiest, but they're not. And so the other side of the debate was, well, they're wounded, they're being healed, they've fallen, hunchbacked, as Baba says. So the question really is, Baba's wanting us, but is it really possible, Jayanti-Ben, when we are in this period of transition and settlement? And what is your understanding of a happy Brahmin?
I won't give you anybody else's example, but I know for myself that if I let myself think about, oh, this happened, why did it happen, it shouldn't have happened, then I know that the happiness evaporates. And yet, if I think about gratitude and fortune and blessings and how much Baba has given, then the happiness rises. And so what is it that I'm focusing on? You know, where my attention goes, energy flows, that story. Well, it's true. What is it that I'm focusing on? Am I focusing on little things, or am I focusing on the big picture? Today, somebody whose husband is very dear to her, and he's also a Brahmin, and he's suddenly faced with a life and death situation that they couldn't have imagined a few months earlier. And she said to me, it's just made me realize I have to keep looking at the bigger picture and not think, well, the nurse should have done this, why didn't she do this, and so on and so on. And so it happens to everybody, not just Brahmins, that you start looking at the minute things that are not as I would want them to be, or even sometimes bigger things that I don't like the way things are. But let me put it in a bigger context. It's Sangam Yug. It's time to go home. It's time to take all the treasures that God is giving me. I didn't know God before. I know God today. And so if I keep my thoughts on the right track and I allow Baba to lift me up, then the problems are down here. The problems don't go away. But the problems are here and I'm able to be up here. And I'm sure everybody has had this experience, except that then we get impacted by all these things going on here. And something that they say in India, Do din hovat na ek saman. No 2 days are alike. If today's been tough, it's okay. Tomorrow can change and I can make it change through my thoughts. So it really depends on what I'm feeding myself. And this is the beauty of Amrit Vela, Baba giving me that pure energy, and then Baba's Murli every day. There's a reason why Baba wants me to hear the Murli every day, because I can say, I've been in Gyan 40 years, 50 years. I've read every Murli at least 10 times over by now. I know all the Gyan, but no, I need a reminder. And so hearing the Murli every single day with that love and that freshness, God is speaking to me and I'm uplifted. And I can maintain that happiness. And it's with that happiness that the whole process of the healing of the wounds will happen. Otherwise, I'm just revisiting the wounds. And every time I open up the wound, of course, it's going to get worse. It's not going to be healing. But I say, the wound is there, but now I'm with Baba. And Baba's light and love will reach, and the wound will heal faster than I had ever imagined possible.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. So, gentlemen, if we could talk about putting on the brake. You mentioned having determined thoughts. So I would see that that is actually the application of the brake, but to actually keep greasing the brake. In other words, what is the consistent effort so that in that moment I'm able to apply the brake and put a full stop?
Faith that Baba and Rama are benevolent. And so to put the full stop, you're right, the application is one thing, but the brake itself is the faith that God is benevolent, Rama is benevolent. I don't think we ever shake in that faith that God is benevolent. Shiva, the word itself means the benefactor. And of course, we love Baba and we've had experiences of how things seem difficult, challenging, awful, and Baba turns it around. But drama, we forget that drama is also benevolent. I see how it's so easy to slip off the rails of drama. Why? Because I'm just in the present. I want immediate results. I've had a thought and I want to see the thought happen in a practical way, in the way that I want, rather than knowing if I do the right thing, the results are definitely going to be right, but it might not be in the way that I would have wanted. It could be in a very different way, but drama is benevolent. Let me stay on the track of drama. I go off here in my thinking, why didn't it happen like this? And drama is going here. And so I've fallen off the rails of drama, and that's when there isn't the possibility of applying the brake.
Right. And Dadi Janki had mentioned that back to this thing of using things in a worthwhile way. So Dadi Janki, so actually it was Brother Rick of USA who had asked Dadi that he sees things happening in the yajna and it's not right. And what does she think? And Dadi said, look, she said, the yajna is going to be run by a handful of honest people. And you better make sure that you're one of them. And somebody was just reciting the story to me. So what step can somebody take, Gentivan, if one is feeling a bit lost in terms of what, where does one start with putting use to whatever treasure they have? What would you suggest? Where does one begin?
Right wherever it is I am, whichever center it is I take benefit from, I'm going to. Let me support that center in whatever way it is I can. But also let me be aware that the big yajna, Madhuban, is serving multi thousands all the time. Just in the space of these few months, I saw groups of 17,000, 18,000 come in, take benefit and leave. And of course, when you add the 2,000 plus who were there as servers and surrendered souls, then you had gatherings of 20,000 happening. And so whatever is being misused is their problem. I heard another person who was a good supporter of the yajna, is still, and he said to Dadi, Dadi, I don't feel like giving to the yajna because I see there's wastage. And Dadi said to him, you're giving to Baba. Baba is responsible to give you the return of whatever you have given with love and faith and commitment. Now, Baba is responsible to give you your fortune as a result of that. It's not your business to be thinking about what other people are doing. And yes, of course, we see how much is needed in the yajna. We see all the facilities that Madhuban is constantly creating and providing for us. How did Gyan Sarovar happen? How did the hospital happen? How did Shantivan happen? It's all happened through everybody's beautiful contributions in some form or another. And so, yes, out of 1,000, maybe 1 or 2 rupees is being wasted. I don't know the figures, but maybe it's something like that. But certainly I'm also seeing that things are being used in a worthwhile way. But it's not my business, Parchintan, to think about what other people are doing. What I have to do is Swachintan, thoughts about my own spiritual journey and progress. So that is the reality.
Yeah, so true. And that's what Dadi did when she was in Shantivan.
Exactly.
Ignored everything else and just did what she had to do. There's another question connected, so I'll take that from the chat. What does it mean by attaining constant success using your breath in a worthwhile way? Can Didi give some real life examples?
When I'm thinking waste about why did this happen, my time, my breath is being wasted. And of course, if this is the quality of my thinking, what is the impact of this on my physical health? And also, what is the impact of this in terms of my responsibilities, whether to my family or the yajna or whatever? It's precious, precious time that has gone to waste. And so if instead of that, if I have pure thoughts, elevated thoughts, and I'm using my time, my thoughts, my breath in a worthwhile way, whether it's for myself, which means if I'm churning good things, my faith, my strength is growing stronger and stronger. And then when somebody comes in front of me, then I have something valuable to share with them. And so it's good for me, but it's also benefit for others. Again, this is what we saw Dadi do. Dadi would have a moment and you would see her either pick up a Murli, or she would be lost in deep thought, or she would be reading the Gyan Amrit magazine, something. You never saw her wasting her time. Really, I didn't see her do anything that was a waste of time. And all the time, just churning and Baba, absolutely. And so that's why, even though she had poor health, she didn't have strong health. She had very poor health, but she lived to 104. And till the end, she was serving. Incredible. So, proof. Use your breath in a worthwhile way. Use your thoughts in a worthwhile way. Your time in a worthwhile way. And there's success.
Yeah, and for that matter, actually, every Dadi, Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Marka, and to us, maybe we think they're doing nothing, but they're doing a lot more than what we're doing, running around, chasing tail.
I'd especially see Dadi Gulzar. Dadi Gulzar was a lover of solitude, even in the days when she was meeting groups and she was going to be the instrument for Baba's Murli. But she'd be spending a lot of time in solitude. So very different to Dadi Prakashmani and Dadi Janki, but a lot of time with herself. So what she was doing was just filling herself with that power of silence, God's power of love. She was preparing herself for whatever it is Baba wanted to do through her later on.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. So just to clarify for someone, this person's asking that Baba used to actually advise the Kumaris, and also Vishwakishore Dada used to help in that. So was it purely these untrained women deciding, or was it Baba and Vishwakishore Dada also kind of directing where the funds should go, the funds that were entrusted to them?
I don't understand the question. Repeat it.
They're saying that they've heard that through the Dadis, that it wasn't that Baba just gave all the wealth and then the sisters decided, that Baba still continued to decide despite handing it over. So just to clarify that.
The sisters, now I don't know the detail of this. I'm imagining what would have happened, and I don't know anybody else who can tell us the detail anymore. But I imagine that, say, for example, Dadi Prakashmani, she was the treasurer in the Yagya for the period during the time it was the beggary part. And so when there was nothing in the Yagya, she said to Baba, Baba, there's no food in the Bhandara, but also there's no money in the money box, the Bhandari. And Baba would say, wait till 12 o'clock. This was like 9 o'clock in the morning. Come and see me at 12 o'clock. And by 12 o'clock, there would be a money order that had come. And so, of course, Dadi Prakashmani would go to Baba and say, Baba, this has come. And then, yes, Baba would say, okay, now when the sister from the kitchen comes, she can go buy the dal and rice, organize that. And so it would be in this way. It would be collaborative. It wouldn't be that Baba would suddenly from up above give a direction and say, do this, do that, do the other. When Shiv Baba gave the instruction to move from Karachi to India, can you imagine the transportation costs at that time? There was the hire of a ship, the hire of a whole train, and everybody moved together. And then from Abu Road going up the mountain, it was quite a journey. Shiv Baba gave the direction to Brahma Baba, and then Brahma Baba must have spoken to Vishwakishore to say, can you please make the arrangements? This is guidance from Shiv Baba. And then once the arrangements were in place, because even for one individual to get permission to travel out from one country to the other, be received by the other country. Well, it wasn't such an easy thing, but the journey happened so smoothly. And so Shiv Baba speaking to Brahma Baba speaking to Vishwakishore Dada, and they would have, Baba and Vishwakishore Dada would have sat with the sisters and said, this is the plan. So I don't think the sisters ran around and made the journey to the Karachi government offices. Can we get permission to go to India and all of these things? So it was collaborative. So it's not just that the sisters made the decisions on their own, or that Shiv Baba just gave instructions and suddenly it happened. There was a whole process of making it happen.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Can we just talk about this statement? Baba said, when you have the power to stop, the stock of old accounts will finish. So could you elaborate on that, please?
There have been certain Murlis, Avyak Murlis in particular, in which Baba has talked about how whatever is the karmic account between you and I, for example, thank goodness we don't have bad karma. We have very sweet karma, a good relationship. But if there was something from the past and I held it in my mind and I kept thinking about it, well, that karmic account would continue. It wouldn't stop. But the moment I say, well, whatever happened, I don't know what the reasons were, but it's no point in thinking about it. I'm not going to think about it anymore. Full stop. From that moment on, the karmic account starts to finish. And so this is a very simple connection I'm talking about. Sometimes it's much more complex, but I have to stop thinking about the past and stop thinking waste thoughts about whatever is happening today. Then my karmic account will finish. And another situation, here's somebody who's ill and they're complaining. And whatever's coming out of their mouth first must have been going through their head. And if they were to stop, and instead of thinking of complaints, just think about gratitude. I'm fortunate that these are the people with me. They're caring for me. They're looking after me. They're busy, but yet they're taking care of me. And from that moment on, the darkness is gone. The waste thoughts have finished, and I've entered the light. And the light is clearing my account of the past.
Yeah, it's a bit like the saying, the only weapon is love. Okay, a few other general knowledge questions, gentlemen. What is your opinion about donating organs of the body after death?
It's not just a general question, it's a controversial question. And until about a couple of years ago, I always thought that it was good. But then I heard quite a bit of information about what's going on in hospitals, not just in the developing world. In the developing world, I know organs are being sold. And so in what condition is the patient still there to get the organs fresh? It's quite a story. But even in the developed world, what is it that they're classifying as death? It's a very subtle point. Now, brain dead, flat line on the graph. At what point is it that truly the soul has actually left? And are they able to estimate that, guesstimate that? And as I say, I just heard a few horror stories about that and read things that made me a bit uncomfortable. So I don't advise people either way. You have to make your own decision about whatever it is you're comfortable with.
Right, Theo. Okay, here's another. Well, I don't know if it's controversial or whether it's debatable. Um, is it better to eat from a non-BK who is pure, like celibate, and cooks peacefully, as opposed to a BK who gets angry quite often?
Well, for me, there isn't a debate about it. I think if somebody is a BK, it means they've recognized Baba, they're reading the Murli, hearing the Murli. And yes, everybody has things to deal with. No Brahmin is perfect, but certainly another person. Okay, so they're peaceful, but I don't know what's going on in their heads. I really don't. And definitely, if they're not yet a BK, it's because they haven't recognized Baba. Now, that's if I have a choice, one or the other. If I'm in a situation and I know the BK family is an aging population, I see that in most countries and in India also. If there is somebody who is celibate and they're willing to cook, then I'd say take that offer. You're not able to manage yourself, and just take that help and support and give Baba's drishti to the food, extra drishti, and take that food. So I don't think it's a big issue.
Okay, maybe a quick answer to this one. Baba says that we are in the stage of ascent. Baba said that today in the Murli. And he mentioned confluence age and heaven. We are in stage of ascent. So please could you clarification on ascent for both ages.
I'm flying and I reach a certain stage and the plane is flying and it's not going further up, but it's certainly flying. And so now is the time for going up. But then Satyug and Treta, we're still flying. And so it's still the stage of not going up further, but certainly flying. So that's how I interpret it.
And does Shankar exist, or will he come to exist in the corporeal form?
I think Shankar is a role that Brahma Baba plays. And so just as Vishnu is a role that Brahma Baba and Mama play together, but Shankar is also a role that Brahma Baba, through his tapasya and of course the absolute opening of the third eye that Baba has at the moment in the subtle region, that is what's going to create the change in the world. And I think we're headed to that very fast.
And will we get blessings of service and income from Baba if we consider our Lokik home to be Baba's home and perform actions like preparing?
I think so. I think so. I think if I really treat my Lokik home as a place of service and do service in Baba's remembrance of my Lokik family and whatever it is I can do there, it's good karma.
Okay, and then last question. What is power of Om Shanti? Is it power of expansion or the power to go into the essence?
Beautiful question. And I think it's both, and it can be both, because infinitesimal is tiny and infinite can also be vast and tiny. So Om is Om Shanti, full stop, but Om is a big, generous heart in which the vibrations are spreading across the world.
Right, so that brings us to the end. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you everyone for joining, and we will keep you posted of future revisions, right, gentlemen?
Yes, hopefully Mondays. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's have a nice.
Thank you for the questions to everyone, and thank you to Aruna Ben.
जुगाद सच है बे सच नानक होसी वे सच आद सच जुगाद सच है बे सच नानक होसी बे सच आद सच जुगाद सच है बे सच नानक होसी बे सच